It feels like the last 12 months in the game industry have been marked with nothing but studio closure after studio closure and layoffs fueled by corporate greed. From veteran teams to iconic gaming publications, it felt like nothing was safe. And while it's hard to say what exactly that means for the time ahead in mainstream games media, there is one thing that the last year has taught me for certain. The future rests on the shoulders of indie games. While independent studios aren't immune to the shakeups happening at large, I can't help but stand in awe at the titles that have been released lately and the dedicated teams behind them, willing to stand for their vision and not having to bend to pressures set by out-of-touch CEOs or chasing trends. It feels like all the indie games I've been playing recently are some of the best in their respective genres. So while the rest of the industry seems to be eating itself alive, today I wanted to pay tribute to those titles that give me hope for the future. Let's talk about them. Roguelites are dead. I remember foolishly thinking to myself right before a curious little game called Balatro came onto the scene. In perhaps the least likely premise to catch my interest, the poker roguelite ended up becoming an easy Game of the Year contender for me back in February. While it appears to start out easy enough by completing poker hands to get increasingly higher scores to clear antes, the obvious star of the show is the jokers, which allow your hands to reach exponential growth and transform your playstyle into something you would never do in regular poker. There's so many hidden rules that you discover as you play, like unlocking fake poker hands such as 5 of a kind if you duplicate enough of the same card, or that the order of your jokers matters because it calculates your score left to right. Don't even get me started on the banana. But what truly makes Balatro stand out is it's clearly a game that wants you to break it. It's designed so that you try out as many zany ideas as possible just to see how the game will respond. And as someone who's dabbled in game development from time to time, I'm astonished at how many jokers synergize together, because I can only imagine how much coding that requires for 150 of them. The real challenge comes with the harder chip difficulties though, and while there is a pinch of luck with every run, it feels really rewarding to naturally get better and uncover new strategies the more you play. Add in clear inspiration from The Binding of Isaac with planet, tarot, and spectral modifiers, and endless mode to see just how far you can take the insanity, and you have a game that can stay fresh forever. After dying for the 100th time in Lies of P, I started to wonder if I even liked Souls-likes anymore. But then a beautiful little experience called Another Crab's Treasure quickly changed my mind. This game was a great reminder that you can still have the Soulsy formula of tense, dodge-driven combat without the grim and moody atmosphere. Another Crab's Treasure is bright, lighthearted, and actually quite funny. A loan shark steals your shell, and in a quest to get it back, you'll get roped into a treasure hunt from the back of a cereal box, collect microplastics, and dismantle capitalist society entirely? The story is very well written and voice acted, but my favorite aspect was actually the makeshift shells you can wear. They're fashioned after various trash you can find in the ocean, which added to the humor, and they can absorb some of the damage you take until they break. But the coolest part is that they all have special abilities to aid in combat, from blowing bubbles to give you a ranged attack, increasing your power but lowering your defense, or even removing the shell entirely to send out a decoy and distract your foe. This added a layer of strategy to boss fights, as there are often numerous shells littering the battlefield. In fact, this game made quite a few bold design choices to further set it apart from its Souls-like brethren. There's no stamina bar, so you can attack and defend without worrying about managing another resource, and it honestly made stamina feel a little obsolete in retrospect. Plus, they focus quite a lot on platforming and 3D puzzles, which gave it a wholly unique flavor. It was a refreshing take on a genre that I was starting to burn out on, so I'm very thankful for the experience. I've played a lot of great Metroidvanias lately, but one game felt like a particular game changer: Animal Well. On the surface, it seems to have the same pillars that we've come to expect from titles like this, but it goes about them in such unconventional ways and with such a distinct style that it quickly rose in the ranks of its contemporaries. Unlike the staple power-ups that you usually see, like a double jump or new ammo type to open doors, here you get a yo-yo, a bubble wand, and a slinky to help move around and solve puzzles. And like Metroid, there's a lonely, eerie atmosphere, but you don't actually fight anything throughout the whole game, which only added to the dread. The safe rooms are a quiet, calm reprieve though, and a nice homage to Resident Evil games. Secrets are nothing new for a Metroidvania, but Animal Well teaches you that nearly every single screen will have a hidden pathway if you look hard enough or have the right tools at your disposal, and you start to develop a sixth sense for them the more you discover. But even that isn't what I loved most. You see, beating the game is only half the journey, and there's so much more to uncover once you hunt for all the Easter eggs. You gain even more power-ups that I haven't ever seen utilized in a game before, and the others have multiple ways to use them that I'd never considered, until it became necessary to reach specific areas or ledges. According to Billy Basso, there's essentially 3 layers to this game: the main path, the secret ending, and then even more cryptic riddles that only the most dedicated community of players would be able to decipher if given enough time. There's so much to unpack here, and the fact that a title of this caliber was developed by one person should be inspiring for any potential dev in the future. The older I get, the more I appreciate when a title doesn't waste my time. Between 2 kids and working full-time, I usually only have an hour or so at most to play something in the evenings. So the faster a game gets to the action or cuts out the fluff and padding, I'm usually much more interested. That's why a personal favorite of mine was A Short Hike. Living up to its name, you can beat this game in under an hour, but it's so densely packed with things to do and goodies to find that it feels like a much more lengthy experience. Your main goal is to climb to the top of Hawk Peak to get cell phone reception, but there are walls too high to jump along the way, so you need to collect feather power-ups to increase your vertical capabilities, making you engage with all the various quests around the island. Things cap off with a breathtaking view and allowing you to float all the way down to the bottom to see how far you've traveled. And then you can tackle any outstanding objectives you might have missed with your maxed out stamina meter. There's no map or dotted line of the correct way to go, just signposts to follow or hints from villagers. It feels organic and intentional in its scope. In the same way that Claire is trying to get away from it all, this game feels like a vacation from regular AAA experiences, boiling it down to the essentials to remind us of what makes games so fun in the first place. And then, to my surprise, I heard of another short hike-alike, love that genre name by the way, called Lil Gator game. And this one expanded on everything that made A Short Hike so enticing, exploring an island full of cutesy quests to increase your abilities, and find as many friends as possible to invite to your cardboard town. It's basically a bunch of kids playing pretend who are a little too old to do so, and this leads to some great interactions with theater troupes, other adults on the island, and the cool kids. But at the center of both of these titles is a touching story about finding yourself, stopping to smell the roses, growing up, and rediscovering childlike wonder. Which, at least to me, is what really makes them work so well. Their selling point is having a quick title to distract you from the stresses of life for a few hours, but underneath it all is a whole lot of heart and cozy vibes that'll leave you smiling from start to finish. I would absolutely play any game that aspires to continue this burgeoning genre of short hike-alikes. I think we need a lot more of them going forward. And a new one that seems to fit the bill closest is Castaway by Canary Games, which will have just released by the time this video is posted. At this point, I'm essentially that Sonic meme about wanting smaller games and not overworking developers. That speaks to me on a spiritual level. At the end of the day, AAA games that I would have really liked 6 or 7 years ago hardly seem to appeal to me anymore, because I've simply found much more enjoyment through indies these days. The barrier for entry of game development seems to be getting lower and lower as more resources become available, which means more passion projects will see the light of day than ever before. And with the state of working for a major company as it is right now, for many it seems to be the best route forward anyway. Easily my most anticipated game right now is Windswept, a DKC-inspired platformer that seems to focus on all the elements I love most about those games, and elevates the team-up toss mechanics to bring some intricate movement options for high-level play as well. But there are tons of other great titles just on the horizon, like The Plucky Squire to jump in and out of storybooks, Derek Yu's long-anticipated Mega Pack UFO 50, and of course Hollow Knight Silksong. It has to come out eventually, right? What about you? What's an indie game that you're looking forward to most? And what is it about these smaller experiences that you enjoy so much? Let me know in the comments below and let's talk about it. It's no secret that we love indies here on this channel, but it looks like that love will only grow even further, because indie games are the future. Thanks for hanging with me for the Summer of Snoman 2024. I greatly appreciate all of you who have stuck with me for all these years. I'll see you next time. Stay frosty, my friends.